still one or two questions one or two because the problem here is in the online thing, we don't have the luxury of postponing. 2 o'clock, we are already waiting online, so we don't have the luxury of not 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock. That is the problem, one of the challenges with the online. Okay, so quickly we must have a lunch and come back. 1 or 2 minutes you can wait for any important questions you can ask. So this here we will answer. Okay.
I have a small question. We all know that COVID had affected everybody, especially in the area of education. Can you please precisely tell us how we can fill the gap that was caused by COVID gap in learning? For instance, in the area of higher education, in the area of school education, what constitutes filling in the gap? Who should fill the gap? How do we have to fill the gap? And what is that? Who should be involved? And if you can answer this question, I'll be very grateful. Thank you very much.
You can ask, yes.
Whether it is 3 years degree or 2 years degree, whether it is a PG program or technological or non-technological program. So, we are going through this. Some students have completed also. UGC, University Grants Commission, recognizes it or not for lecturership. That is a very big doubt. Can you clarify this doubt? University has not initiated any...
It's incurred and you cannot really recover. There are quite a few experts who have stated that it's just impossible to imagine that whatever loss that you have incurred among the students can be recovered completely in the near future. In fact, it has all been almost ruled out that it's a generational loss. The world is losing one generation of really highly educated productive persons who could have been much better educated, who could have been in a much better situation. Because they have depreciated the value of education that they have already on the human capital stock they have in their bodies has been depreciated, and that cannot be really appreciated further. Still, what all you can do is that you can have piecemeal methods of recovering some part of it with additional classes, with additional teaching. So if you say that yes, I lost 2 years of my master's degree, you do this 2 year program in a 1 year program with heavy load of teaching and learning, having classes in the evening, morning, etc. and do something other time. Perhaps you can do that to some extent, but that still will not be the most best way of recovering the losses. There is nothing like a way of learning losses, and the losses are permanent. In that sense, the long-term effects of these losses are so severe that not only we could not imagine, but also nothing can be done to recover it completely. Not only can we can partially come to recover it to some extent, but not quite efficiently. It's ruled out that particularly for the young children in school, primary school children, etc., you cannot really increase the working hours, you cannot increase the class teaching, and you cannot dump the knowledge saying that you take this entire knowledge and pass the examination that you have to pass in normally at the end of 10th, that you do it in 3 months course next year. So that's not possible at all. That's really a very serious one. Second question is, you see, there are 2 ways of responding. I don't know anything at all about what UGC is doing with these courses, but what we find over the last several years, not only just this one, quite a few confusing statements. Online courses, online programs, distance education, PhD degrees, distance education, master's degree programs were not recognized by some. Courts have recognized, courts have not recognized, government has recognized, de-recognized, all kinds of turns and reverse turns are taking place in the country. But if you are sympathetic a little bit, you say that at this particular stage, perhaps UGC is still working on how to do it, whether we can recognize a good online program as a recall into online program for the future recruitment and others. So I give that second concession to the UGC. Perhaps it is taking time, perhaps it may come out with a very sound policy. But that's also a good hope that I have, but I'm not sure of my hope itself. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. I think it will be a wonderful session. And a lot of very good information given to us. And we are grateful to him. Thank you.
Yes, sir, for your in-depth and insightful keynote address. I also wish to thank Professor Tirupati Rao sir for chairing this session. So as we are all hungry right now, lunch is served at the guest house. So I request all of you to go there and enjoy your lunch. And we are behind time, so you have to come back in half an hour. And there are one or two announcements. The details of the invited lectures will be sent to the WhatsApp group because we have two venues, the main hall and the mini hall. You will be getting the information regarding that very soon in few minutes on WhatsApp. And the presenters are requested to hand over the PPTs, the soft copy of your PowerPoint presentations to Mr. Wajid. I request Mr. Wajid to raise, please sir. Yeah. So here's Mr. Wajid, you can hand over your PPTs to him. So thank you once again. Please have your lunch and come back soon.
Level using select government degree colleges in Hyderabad affiliated to Osmania University to evaluate the continuous internal evaluation and its influence on the teaching and learning of English since the introduction of CBCS by Osmania University in 2016-17. The study was conducted for a period of 4 years from 2016-17 to 2019-2020. The study seeks to analyze the relationship between testing, assessment, teaching practices and students' learning of English and the impact of the continuous internal evaluation on the teaching learning process of English at the tertiary level in government degree colleges in Telangana state. The study uses 3 government degree colleges, namely IPGDC Nampalli, GDC Khyberabad and BGDC Vidyanagar as representative colleges of the 128 government degree colleges in Telangana to include rural, semi-rural, semi-urban, urban undergraduate learner profiles. 72 CIE question papers, that is 1,080 test items and 36 assignments were analyzed using the Bloom's taxonomy as a theoretical framework. Teachers and students from the select colleges provided inputs and feedbacks through interviews and questionnaires to determine how assessment practices influences the teaching learning process in government degree colleges in Hyderabad, Telangana and the relationship between continuous internal evaluation and the teaching practices and student learning of English. The study adopted a mixed method. The study used material analysis, questionnaire interviews and classroom observations to gather information and document the continuous internal evaluation impact. 1,080 test items, 36 assignments were reviewed, 15 teachers from the 3 select colleges and 135 students from the 3 government degree colleges were part of the study. The continuous internal evaluation of the student, which is the pre-reading stage, then give them the text where they read, and while reading you give them a few questions which you put up on the board or you tell them to write down, so they have a focus while they are reading the text because they need to focus, and then you wrap up the whole thing with the post-reading session where you consolidate what they have.
As a page adjudicated report, I read in the presence of all. I gone through the report. What is the difference from the point of the reading and the learning of the adjudicated report for me? What I can observe from reading the report of your report, from reading learning your report, what I am going to observe.
Chairperson of this session and respected organizers of this wonderful international conference and my learned colleagues. I am Dr. K.Kamala, Senior Assistant Professor of Commerce, working at Government Degree and PG College, Siddipet Autonomous. I would like to make my presentation on a topic, just you look at the slide 30, teaching, learning, evaluation in higher education institution during COVID havoc. I used the word havoc, some empirical findings and amicable solutions. As I have been associating with the college activities, particularly with reference to the exam examination branch, I have taken the teaching learning evaluation mechanism during the COVID-19 period. For that, I made my presentation as a following layout. Sir, kindly can you look at the slides? Yeah. So this is the presentation layout wherein I can take 6 to 7 steps: introduction, statement of the problem, objectives, scope of the study, and research methodology adopted, and previous studies referred, analysis of the data, findings and conclusions. Coming to the introduction part, sir, as we are well aware that Indian education system is highly conventional, conservative. In our education system, we include some traditions, customs. All the way we cannot be integrated with the technology itself.
Outside, I would like to congratulate the Department of Political Science and all the other organizers for organizing such a wonderful international conference and on the topic which is very relevant nowadays. So for this day, the topic that I have chosen to put it in front of you is, this is a general topic. The topic that title of the topic is Revisiting Gurukul Pedagogy, a Forgotten Pathway to Make Virtual Learning Viable and Wholesome. I'll repeat my title once again. Revisiting Gurukul Pedagogy, a Forgotten Pathway to Make Virtual Learning Viable and Wholesome. So I selected this particular topic. I wanted to work on this particular topic is because it is on the basis of my experience and the experience of all the educators during the lockdown when we have experimented with online learning or virtual learning. So what are the objectives of my research paper is? Sir, can you please go to the next slide, please? So here, what we have observed is, we all know that one aspect that has really halted every aspect of human life, it is COVID-19 pandemic, and it is COVID-19 pandemic which has also halted the teaching, learning and pedagogy practice. And not only that, we can say that COVID-19 is something like a blessing in disguise. Why? Because it has given us an opportunity to explore new channels of teaching and new kinds of pedagogy that we can implement in nowadays. And coming to my objectives, there are two objectives that I want to put in front of you. One is the pros and cons of online mode of learning, and also identify the challenges of assimilating virtual mode into physical mode. So what are the challenges that we face when we try to assimilate the physical mode into the virtual mode? And the second one is, I want to throw light on
respected chairperson and my dear brothers and sisters and my dear students. Special thanks to Department of Political Science, Kamala Madam and Rama, our brother Ramachari, and my hearty congratulations to JDCW Begumpet. My topic is quality in higher education and challenges, opportunities at global level. Life skills, skill development and personality development. I am Dr. Suvarna Devi, working as a political science lecturer in Government Degree College for Women, City.
Can you really please come?
My introduction. In order to lead a successful life, one must have very good set of life skills which will be useful to absolutely powerful and energetic. Them seem to be super self-confident, which can be achieved by having good personality and core life skills.
Good afternoon, everybody. I am Dr. G. Medicinanda, working as Assistant Professor of Education, English Methodology, Dr. B.R. Ambedkar, Open University. The topic for my discussion is how discourse-oriented pedagogy facilitates collaborative learning, classroom management, co-teaching in English language teaching.
Madam.
At government schools. Number of slides. Pushpa Madam, please. This discourse-oriented pedagogy is a concept it is a pedagogy that came into existence since 2005 or so. Okay, the Dr. Anandan, Professor Anandan and Khannan sir and few other people, they gathered together and they did research and they put an end to the traditional methods of teaching. Earlier, before 2005, we had traditional methods of teaching. But in English language teaching, the expected results have not been achieved by the students.
Among high school students directly.
Yes, a very good afternoon to one and all. I'm a research scholar there. My topic is developing reflecting thinking among high school students, but it is also applicable in higher education because I have also taught at the undergrad level. So basically, what is reflective thinking? Among the four skills, I think this skill of reflective thinking has been one that has never been paid attention to. We have L, S, R and W, but what about thinking? This is one thing that I want to focus. As a teacher researcher, my basic premise of my research was to make students think, because the concentration of my research was for certain students of a certain socio-economic background. Here I have found parents and students to be passive recipients of whatever information was passed on to them. Looking at this, I felt that how can we make the most? Now students, whether they are at the high school level or at the undergraduate level, they spend a lot of time with us, the teachers. Whether you're a teacher at the school level or the undergraduate or the postgraduate level. Are we making our students think? This is the basic premise of my research. My theoretical framework was based on constructivism. There's a lot of constructivism theories on which I have formulated my proceedings of my research. Just to name a few, the methods used to incorporate reflective thinking in the classroom was two-sided notebooks. How can we make use of a notebook that is just meant for the teacher to write something on the board and the students to copy it down? What are their thoughts on a particular content that is taught?
Dr. Parvi, working as an assistant professor in the Department of Education and Training, Manu, Hyderabad. My topic of research is opinion of Manu students on CBCS system. So I have prepared 27 slides, where in 10 slides I try to explain the importance of CBSE and in 17 slides I explain the methodology. And as you are aware that evaluation is considered to be the most important process of teaching and learning. And this evaluation process helps the teachers to evaluate their methods of teaching and the instructions used and approaches, etc., etc., whereas it helps the students to evaluate their learning. So here, Kothari Commission rightly says that it is the measuring of educational achievements of the students and related to educational objectives, teaching methods, and student study habits. So let us see what is the purpose of this evaluation. So as UGC says that innovative, of course, as I said, there are multiple uses of this evaluation, and the UGC always tries to change the methodology. It gives many suggestions to improve the curriculum, teaching learning process, examination, evaluation, besides many basing upon the policies and recommendations suggested, so that the quality of higher education can be improved. So based upon that, in the year 2015, choice-based credit system was introduced. So let us see what this choice-based credit system is. When you try to define it, it is an educational model that offers students to opt for the courses and subjects of their own choices. And again, this CBSE includes 3 categories of curriculum. One is core subjects, which is mandatory for completion of the credit requirement. And second one is elective course, which is for students' skill enhancement. And third one is ability enhancement and value enhancement. Courses are included in CBSE.
AMPP, Anantarashmi, generally this type of seminars are very best for the educated people. There is no need. The significance, the urgency, the principles of documenting a research article, is so important to the budding researchers. They will also present in this gathering. With information, they will attend sometimes without a paper to listen and notice or observe some issues on the topics presented by the delegates. Where the person concerned ordering the session always have to look into the welfare of the students who attended the session, because they are going to learn, and after learning these issues here, how to write, the way to write, so and so and so, they are going to write in the paper and implementing in their own nature. It is only the career counseling of those budding students by means of this type of discussion, for them it is very useful and involving. And the paper presenters, for them also I would like to say one sentence. Once the title, whatever may be the title is according to rules and branches, or maybe willingness. Once you title, then from the title you have to derive the objectives to be innovated, to be searched or to find out. To find out those objectives, then you need the data. And this data must be interpreted in statistical analysis or in any ratio techniques pertaining to getting answers, getting conclusions, getting the findings to be supported with objectives. Whether you have taken objective that must be supported and should know based on the conclusions you drawn from the data interpreted in the text. In such way they are to present it. This is the way I would say documentation of an article or documentation of a thesis place. And some people may be very not because of their anything except the innocence or independent attitude about the research approach. They have to learn and they have to see that this should not be repeated in the next time in the research. And many people, they are bold enough, they have taken the issue on education and then coming presentation.
So thank you for giving this opportunity. Thank you, sir, for chairing this session. Professor C.R. Reddy, sir, Professor, Department of Commerce, Sri Krishna Devaraya University. Thank you, sir. Thank you very much for explaining the difference between the reading and learning and teaching and learning, and also your valuable suggestions. Thank you, sir. And also, I thank all the participants and as well as the presenters. Thank you, Valinda. After this session, there will be a tea break. In the next one.
A warm good evening to one and all. It is now my great pleasure and honor to introduce Professor J. Haragopal, sir. Sir is currently visiting professor at Bangalore, National Law School of India University, teaching the students of Master's Program in Public Policy. Earlier, he worked at University of Hyderabad. He had set the Center for Human Rights at the University of Hyderabad and was editor of Indian Journal of Human Rights. He was a visiting professor to Delhi University, Indian University of Advanced Studies, Shimla, and Northeast Hill University, Shillong. He was UGC National Lecturer during 1989 to 91. Lectured at Oxford, London University, UK, and Cornell University in USA. He was a visiting professor at Uppsala University, Sweden. He participated in World Conference on Human Rights at Vienna on the invitation of United Nations. He was a delegate of National Rights Program at Montreal, Canada. He was an ICSSR National Fellow at Tata Institute of Social Sciences at Hyderabad. Presently, he is the chairman of Kishore Bharati. He published 4 books, edited 3 books in English and 3 books in Telugu and 60 research papers in national and international journals. He has been associated with the civil rights movement for the last 4 decades. And with this brief introduction, now I welcome Sir onto the dais to chair the technical session.
Friends, principal of Begumpet Women's College, and Kamala Garu, who is organizing this very important conference, and friends. Coming to Begumpet Women's College is partly something like coming home, because Dr.K.Kamala worked here in this college when she actually superannuated. That was her last posting. And I used to go to the college on different occasions. And because of COVID, of course, everything got upset. And partly it has come down. Hopefully it ended. But we are again threatened that there may be a 4th wave. One really doesn't know, but before that 4th wave starts, I think we should finish as much of interaction as possible, because we suffered enormous isolation, loneliness during this 2 years period. I would say that this was the saddest period in my life, because no social interaction, no programs, no seminars, no travel, no friends can come, you can't visit friends. I think this is something human beings, perhaps have never experienced in the past. There were several viruses, but I don't think there was any virus at any point of time in the history which had threatened the entire humanity. And it was so intimidating that some of us lost weight, not only me, several of my friends. Not only in Hyderabad and this part, but friends even all over India, whenever I link up, they start telling how much of weight they lost. And I'm happy that this may be the 5th or 6th program I am attending after the COVID threat has come down. Even my medical doctor says that now we can go and attend the programs. So I'm very happy to come and talk to you. Of course, this session is supposed to be on the quality, and in one sense it's very difficult question. Very difficult question, because I was associated for a very long time with NAT. This national accreditation, they went on changing the criteria periodically. Whenever they were changing the criteria, we were also involved in changing the criteria. What parameters to be taken, and how to judge an institution, and how to compare institutions. And institutions in the remote rural areas, in the tribal areas, institutions located in Delhi, in the cosmopolitan cities, there is a variation unbelievable. In fact, I went to evaluate one college in Delhi. It is called Shivaji College. Not many of us heard, although I was visiting professor in Delhi, but they have not heard much of that college. But when we went to that college, there are 260 full-time faculty members. Even universities don't have 260 full-time faculty members in that college. But it is located on the periphery of Delhi, and with the result, large number of students from the marginalized communities, from farming families, from agricultural families, from the different Dalit sections, they were coming, they got admitted in this college. So a NAP team, we were discussing how to evaluate this college. Now quality, if you go to St. Stephen's or Lady Sri Ram College, of course the students and the quality of students itself is so high because they had very good school education. come from families where parents are highly educated. So in the process, they have had several advantages. I went to LSR college also to give some lecture. I was invited to give a lecture on public administration, but the students started demanding, sir, please give a lecture on human rights. Public administration will study. No, they demand from the students, and even the faculty was surprised that the students have a different demand. Now, if I compare them, Stephens or LSR or IP college and the Shivaji college and the colleges in the rural areas, how do you check the quality? So we said the colleges which are serving a backward area, in a remote rural area or in a tribal location, should be judged totally in a different manner as far as quality is concerned. If you apply the same quality that you apply to Lady Sri Ram College or St. Stephen College or even some of the colleges, Presidency College, which are produced two Nobel laureates of Calcutta, then so this comparison becomes completely incomparable. That's why when quality assessment comes, then how to quantify the qualitative variables is one of the challenges in social science research. Supposing there are several qualitative factors like happiness, like satisfaction, the relationships, and how do you quantify them? They are not there. So economics has an advantage in one sense that economics has money, production, therefore you can measure, growth rate, you can measure. But when you come to a discipline like political science, where I deal with power, nature of power, how do you quantify power? How do you quantify the power of Prime Minister, let's say, different Prime Ministers? The power is a qualitative variable. And therefore quantification of qualitative variables is always difficult. Bhutan has done some formula and therefore they are measuring happiness. So now they are placing the nations on the hierarchy of happiness. And Bhutan is supposed to be one of the happiest. Finland is supposed to be the happiest nation.
Thank you, sir, for a very extensive lecture on the present education system, the existing socio-economic disparities and the various constraints which all the education institutions are facing. And we totally agree that quality can be improved if the freedom is given, and which can greatly improvise on the creativity and also how interpersonal relationship can improve the overall quality of the education system. Thank you, sir, for your insights and the thought-provoking session. And next we invite Ilan sir for the next session.
For inviting me here. I don't know whether it is being recorded or
Yes.
or YouTube, is it?
Yes.
So,
live stream also.
because it becomes difficult to speak to the audience and also YouTube. The topic given here for this session is quality in higher education and the challenges, opportunities at global level. Now, before touching upon the level of education at global level, let me briefly talk about what is the educational structure, particularly higher education structure as of now in the present regime, plus the whole globalized context. As the context emerges time and again. Now if you look at the higher education of India, there are three patterns, and all the teachers must seriously note these patterns and locate yourself, where are you in these patterns. Number one, we have 45 central universities. Now this is latest UGC chairman's declaration, but I am not sure whether IITs which have the social science component 45. I think it is no. They are talking about central universities as established by Manmohan Singh government level, plus earlier ones, what we call the well-established central universities. Then there are deemed central universities. Now this is one pattern, and the pattern is coming from UGC, the nature of syllabus, the character of teaching. Professor Agopal was just now touching about something. The second category is private universities. I don't know how many of you teachers particularly are studying the nature of private universities. In the private universities there are 2-3 characteristics. The topmost industrialists have started private universities like Ashoka, Amity, and there is a very famous university in Pune called Flames. Because I keep talking to these students occasionally, I know what is the status of these universities. And there are state private universities, Yale University here, and I don't know where does Geetham fit in, whether Geetham fits in central or state, but people tell me that its standards are relatively better within 2 Telugu states. There is also one campus here, some of whom I know they teach there. Now then you have well-established state universities, and Begumpet Women's College is part of Usmania, which is supposed to be well-established, but now it is in deep problems of not only infrastructure but also knowledge. Now in these 3 patterns, there is the question of syllabus, what kind of syllabus each one of these are teaching, and what is the kind of quality of the staff that these universities have. I was just talking to my friends in Central University. I was talking to Iflu, friend of mine. I was asking, do you have enough staff members to handle both undergraduation and postgraduation? And they have research courses. Now there is no MPhil, of course. He said, no, always Central universities have more staff members than required. Now that could be true of Professor Agopal's university. Now look at state universities. State universities have only 20% regular staff members. All over the country. And the remaining are what is called contractual, part-time, and what I call the dying, decadent people. They are also retiring at that stage. Their family is dying, their decadence is total, and they have no motivation to read anything. Why should? This is another problem. But look at Central universities. I was in Ashoka before the corona pandemic. I'll tell you, the entire campus atmosphere is exactly like a great university college which I visited in US. The staff teaching, the rooms that they live, and more so the cafeteria. Their canteen is world class. Of course, you know that there is campaign going on, we should all eat only vegetarian in campuses. Smriti Irani was very popular for that. She gave memorandums to university. But go to Ashoka University, what they eat? They eat the American food. There everything is American. Now what is the syllabus that they are teaching? started by biggest industrialists in the country. You have Wipro University also. Some of my young colleagues teach there. Now the syllabus of these universities is exactly like Harvard syllabus. It does not even touch upon Indian issues in a big way. So, and there are ordinary private universities and so on and so forth. So, the issue is, what is that the colleges affiliated to state universities do in this situation? And of course in Telangana we had another problem. For last 25 years, particularly from 2001, ever since all my friends, including my teacher, Professor Argopal, started Telangana education, no teaching, no class, nothing. So they started what is known as Vidyavantula Vedika to ask for boycott every day. And today we are at the lowest level. The catchment that is coming to your colleges, I don't know, Begumpet could be, but I know certainly St. Francis Women's College is far better. And there are St. Anne's Women's College is certainly better because I meet some of them. Now those girls who study in good English medium schools go to some of these colleges, their standards are to a level where you can teach at least a reasonable good syllabus. But how can you teach students who don't understand anything, who never sat in the classroom anything? How do you teach? Begumpet, do you have Telugu medium or English medium, both? Only English medium. You get more of Telugu medium students or English?
We also get Telugu medium students.
And Telugu medium, and so teacher has to combine various dimensions. Yeah, this is the problem. In the private universities, the entire teaching is on global standard English, even the accent. And they take teachers, those who are trained in Oxford, Harvard, Cambridge, and not even in Australia and Canada. And all the best, whom I used to respect in JNU and Delhi University, and now they are abusing privatization, joining Ashoka University. All great professors. Because now they are saying that there is at least more freedom there. But the point is, what do we do? Here when you conduct a syllabus, what is the higher education status not only in India but in the global context? Where do you send your children after your graduation, post-graduation? My feeling is, it starts from very basic point. The students, see, if you just walk into the Usmania garden, just suppose if you or go to library, all the seats are full there. But do you know what are they reading? They don't read any subject book. They have these guides for preparation for job competition of objective type. Full of people all over Usmania campus. Any campus you go, only this objective type, choice reading for taking the numbers. But if you ask them anything, I was sitting in ICSR library and a lot of students were around throughout some of this Corona time also. I was asking them, I was trying to speak to them in English. I tell you, hardly anybody understands even a basic sentence. And they said that we are preparing for group 1. Or preparing for this exam, that exam. Do you know basic English? No. But are you trying to learn? No, we don't need now. So, to me it appears in the entire Telangana government only 3 people know English. KCR, Kavita and K.T. Raman. Yeah, please ask.
What I feel, you have selected a wrong field because already women feel their work dignity, while men need lot of training in this field, sweeping and etc. It has to be done by male and male field. So here I feel women whatever they are working, they feel their work dignified, and we have to raise that dignity by sharing by men.
Yeah, that's what I am saying. I don't know whether you caught what I was saying. Dignity of labor problem is not just homebound problem. In all our classical texts, tilling land is defined as pollution. You go to any text. You go to Vedic text, you go to Ramayana, you go to Mahabharata. Tilling soil is considered to be pollution. The whole idea of purity and pollution is defined in terms of productivity and non-productivity. Now I was wondering, why every time saint appears as a great man in the books? Saint. I've never seen saint tilling the land or looking after cattle. And these saints tell the world that cow is a sacred animal, more sacred than women between 10 and 50 Ayappa place. Because women also have this problem of menstruation, childbirth, therefore pollution. Now if cow is sacred animal, why don't you go and graze it? Why don't your children look after cattle? Why don't the removes done? Why don't they remove the dead cattle from the village? Why do Dalits do it? Why do Shudras look after cattle? Farmers only look after cattle, not the saint. If the saint is great, what is greatness? So madam, when I am talking about dignity of labor, it is not just sweeping of the house, it is I am talking the basics from home. As today, when I gave the example of boy, that you have to teach, and I told my village teachers, go house to house, tell every mother that you must make your child to wash mother's clothes. That habit has to come. Chichi, Adama langa mukkundra, Adama batta mukkundra, enama cheta batti itlesi, ఏంటంటే మొబైల్ నుంచి ఉండే problem. That is the reason why I am saying the Indian textbooks, I don't know if you review your school textbooks, there is no lesson on tilling the land. So, నాది నేను ఎప్పుడో తెలుగులో ఒక చిన్న పోయం రాసి, సాలు సాలుకు సంబంధం మనిషి మనిషికి ప్రేమ బంధం తత్వరీతులు నేర్పినోడు. సాలు సాలు ఎట్లయ్యాలి, కోండ్రు ఎట్లయ్యాలి, ఎట్లా దున్నా నేను టెక్స్ట్ బుక్ ఎట్లా లేదు. అర్బన్ చైల్డ్కి ఏం తెలుసు దున్నుడు ఎట్లా అనేది, తర్వాత ఏ పంట ఎట్లా పండుతుంది. ఒకసారి ఐఏఎస్ ఎగ్జామినేషన్లో ఎవరో ఒక ఫార్మర్ బ్యాక్గ్రౌండ్ నుంచి వచ్చిన ఆయన ఎగ్జామినర్ కూర్చున్నాడు ఇంటర్వ్యూ. ఈ సఫిస్టికేటెడ్ అర్బన్ వాళ్ళు, రూరల్ వాళ్ళు ఇద్దరు ఇంటర్వ్యూస్ పోతారు. నార్మల్గా ప్రశ్న అడిగే వారి మీద సెలెక్షన్ చేసే పద్ధతి ఉంటుంది. సపోజ్ ఇఫ్ ది ఇంటర్వ్యూయర్ ఆస్క్స్, when you travel in aeroplane, what is the critical after you sit in the aeroplane అని అడిగాడు. ఎవరు చెప్తారు? that putting the belt is critical అని ఎవరు చెప్తారు? చైల్డ్ ఆ స్టేజ్లో ఎవరైతే ఏరోప్లేన్ ఎక్కిండ్రో వాళ్ళు చెప్తారు. అంతే కదా, ఆ అనుభవం ఉండాలి.
ఇది అర్బన్ చిల్డ్రన్కి, మిడిల్ క్లాస్కి, అప్పర్ మిడిల్ క్లాస్కి, పెట్టుబడిదారులకి, బ్యూరోక్రటిక్ చిల్డ్రన్ ఉంటారు. ఈయన ఏమడిగాడంటే విత్తనాలు వేసేటప్పుడు నువ్వు గింజ వేయడానికి సాలు లోతు ఉండాలా, లేదా వేరుశనగ గింజ వేయడానికి సాలు లోతు ఉండాలా అని అడిగాడు. Do you understand what I am saying? For which seed the furrow has to be deeper, whether it is for groundnut or nuvu. All urban child fail in that. Simply they fail. They don't know what is the salu actually. కనుక నన్ను కూర్చుండబెడితే ఒక రకమైన సెట్ అయిన ఐఏఎస్ ఆఫీసర్ చేస్తారు, ఇంకో ఆయన కూర్చుండబెడితే ఇంకో రకమైన సెటప్ ఐఏఎస్ ఆఫీసర్. Don't make it interviews neutral. It is not. If women are there, నేను ఒకే ఒకసారి సెంట్రల్ యూనివర్సిటీ వైస్ ఛాన్సలర్ సెలక్షన్లో కూర్చున్నాను. నేను చిదంబరం సైన్స్ అడ్వైజర్ అప్పుడు లాస్ట్ పేజ్ ఆఫ్ యూపీఏలో. అప్పుడు మేము చాలా మంది ఇంటర్వ్యూ చేశాం ప్రొఫెసర్ గారు. నేను ఒక ఆయన మీద పట్టుబడి ఆయన కాస్ట్ అయిందో నాకు తెలియదు. ఆఖరికి చైర్మన్ నాతో ఒప్పుకున్నారు. ఫైనల్ వీసా నేను అడిగిన క్వశ్చన్స్ ఆయన ఇచ్చిన రిప్లైలు అల్టిమేట్గా నేను ఇచ్చిన మార్కులకి ఆయనకు దట్ మ్యాన్ వాజ్ దట్. సో ఇట్ డిపెండ్స్ ఆన్ వాట్ కైండ్ ఆఫ్ క్వశ్చన్స్ యూ ఆస్క్ ఇన్ దిస్ ఇంటర్వ్యూ. అందుకని డిగ్నిటీ ఆఫ్ లేబర్ ఈజ్ నాట్ జస్ట్ ఇది కాదు. డిగ్నిటీ ఆఫ్ లేబర్ ఈజ్ హోల్ అగ్రేరియన్ ప్రొడక్షన్. మీ ఎంటైర్ బుక్స్ ఆఫ్ సివిలైజేషన్, మీరు సివిలైజేషన్ అనేది అయితే మాట్లాడుతున్నారో దాంట్లో ప్రొడక్షన్ లేదు. చూడండి ఆస్క్ ప్రొఫెసర్ అగోపాల్ సివిలైజేషన్ డిస్కోర్స్లో ఎప్పుడు భారతదేశంలో నాగలి దున్నడం ప్రారంభమైంది అనేది ఎక్కడ ఉందా? ఈ మధ్య నేను ఒక వ్యాసం రాశాను, అది రామమోహన్ రెడ్డి ఈపీడబ్ల్యూ ఎడిటర్ ఉంది. ఆయన దాన్ని చూసి చాలా ఆశ్చర్యపోయి ప్రింట్ చేశారు. దాని టైటిల్ ఏంటి అంటే Spade as symbol of civilization and book as symbol of civilization. Civilization కు సింబల్ పారన బుక్క. పార ఎప్పుడు మొదలైంది, బుక్ ఎప్పుడు మొదలైంది? తర్వాత మీకు అంటే మనం కామన్ సెన్స్ నుంచి ప్రశ్నించడం నేర్చుకోవట్లేదు. చాలా గొప్ప సంస్కృత గ్రంథములన్నీ తాళపత్రములపై రాయబడి ఉండేను అనగానే అబ్బా ఎంత గొప్పగా రాసి తాళపత్రాలు. కానీ ఎప్పుడన్నా మీకు ప్రశ్న తలెత్తిందా? ప్రపంచంలో మోస్ట్ ఏన్షియంట్ పీరియడ్లో ఎవరు తాళపత్రాల మీద రాయరు, లెదర్ స్క్రాల్స్ మీద రాస్తారు. యూ సీ ప్లేటో, యూ సీ అరిస్టాటిల్, యూ సీ చైనీస్ రైటర్స్, కన్ఫ్యూషియస్, దే ఆల్ రోట్ ఆన్ లెదర్ స్క్రాల్స్. వీళ్ళు ఎందుకు లెదర్ స్క్రాల్స్ మీద రాయలే? ద సింపుల్ రీజన్ ఈస్ all of them writers are Brahmins. They made leather untouchable. Leather untouchable అయిన తర్వాత నువ్వు లెదర్ స్క్రాల్ మీద రాయాలి. లెదర్ స్క్రాల్ మీద రాయకుండా లెదర్ వాస్ ఏ పేపర్ ఆఫ్ ఏన్షియంట్. ఇట్ కెన్ బి లాంగ్, ఇట్ కెన్ బి సైజబుల్, ఇట్ కెన్ బి చేంజబుల్. అండ్ తాళపత్రం ఎంత ఉంటుందంటే ఇంత ఉంటుంది. దాని మీద రాసి మధ్యలో మొక్కలు పెట్టి దాన్ని కూర్చోబెడితే అది ఉంటుందా? అసలు ఉన్నాయా? నేను మోస్ట్ ఆఫ్ ద బుక్స్ ఆర్ గాన్. అండ్ మెనీ ఎప్పుడు అక్షరంగా రైటింగ్ స్టార్ట్ అయింది? వేదాలు ఎప్పుడు రాసింది తెలుసా? ద ఫస్ట్ రిటన్ టెక్స్ట్ ఇన్ తాళపత్రాస్ వాస్ కౌటిల్య అర్థశాస్త్రం. దాని తర్వాత వేదాలను రికార్డ్ చేశారు చాలా మంది. అంటే 3rd century BC వరకు నీకు రాత లేదు. అప్పటికి చైనాలో చాలా రోజులైంది రాత. అందుకని డిగ్నిటీ ఆఫ్ లేబర్ ఇస్ లెదర్, డిగ్నిటీ ఆఫ్ లేబర్ ఇస్ నాగలి, dignity of labor is para, civilization roots are in spade. Spade is a production. Book అన్నింటినీ రాయలేదు కనుక we are entirely sitting in wrong philosophical discourse in the university. We'll have to change. Thank you.
On behalf of the Department of Political Science and on behalf of the Department of Government Degree College, I would like to propose vote of thanks to Professor Gopal sir
who has given us valuable inputs on quality and assessment and about NAC upgradation. And I also thanks to Professor Kancha Ailaya sir for throwing light on the dignity of labor. Thank you very much, sir. Now I request our principal ma'am to felicitate Professor Argopal sir and Professor Kancha Ailaya sir.